enthusiasts! My name is Abby Oliveira and I am a performance poet / spoken word artist. Welcome to this very short introduction to performance poetry video course brought to you by me and by the Bluebell Arts project run out of the gas yard. Can you see that bottle? This may look like your average everyday empty bottle to you, but I assure you that is not the case. This is actually a little bottle that I found on a beach in New Zealand, in Wellington to be precise, in 2016. I met this Maori guy, his name was Mick, over there. And we just happened to be sitting in the bar, and I had said to him, well look, I've found this, and I took out a little bit of the powder and I showed him it. And his eyes went wide, and he went a wee bit white as a sheet. And he told me that actually what this was like a bottle of, I don't want to use the word juju, but it was a bottle made for somebody by a shaman, sort of a witch doctor type character. And usually that particular type of iridescent grit, which there's a particular name for it, but that's usually when somebody needs healing in their life. So I had found somebody's bottle of healing, basically. And Mick said they must have lost that, because ordinarily you would hold on to that. That would not leave your person until you felt that the trouble was over from your life. And then once you got to that stage, then you would pour out the grit. You would smash the bottle, and then you would burn the pieces on the fire as a sort of a ritualistic indication that you were letting go of that trouble now. And I just made every word of that up. Not a word of that was true. Thanks for listening. Now, in ordinary circumstances in the workshop, we would have been getting into confidence building at this point. Confidence in speaking, in body language, although we're limited because we're stuck behind the screens. No, help me, I can't get out. There are still some of these exercises that you can try alone and that I would like for you to give a go. And if you're isolating with kids or particularly adventurous family members, you never know, maybe you could get some of them to join in. If not, you can do them alone. And one of those exercises is Object History X. Now, ideally, this should be presented in front of a group. But it can be done in front of a mirror or a camera, in such cases as things like COVID-19 come along and start trying to wreck your life. Now, this exercise is designed to slowly start increasing your sense of confidence when you feel exposed and vulnerable in front of an audience. It's not a comfortable exercise, and it shouldn't be. The key is to not be afraid of corpsing, of taking a blank, but to practice pushing through the habit that we have of giving up as soon as something starts to feel uncomfortable. So, let's give it a go then. You're going to have a go at telling your own alternative history X of an object. So first of all, I want you to mark out a performance space. Then I want you to go and grab a few random items from around the house. Don't put a hell of a lot of thought into it, and put them into the middle of the space. Or alternatively, go and stand at the window. Use the landscape, what's about you, instead of the objects. Once you've done that, enter the performance space. And I want you to tell your audience, imaginary or no, the alternative history of this object or this landscape. Just like what I was after doing with the bottle there. So think about, who owns this? Where did it come from? How do I feel about this object? Say it out loud, because speaking it out loud is crucial. And when you do find yourself corpsing, taking a blankener, well, move on to another object and try and build up that flow and keep it going. Now, I want you to practice this until you can comfortably talk rubbish about that object for at least 1 minute. And if you can go for longer, fabuli. Go until as long as you feel like you're starting to lose your audience or could be starting to lose your audience. Try turning this into a fun storytelling activity that you could do with your family, and kids tend to be particularly brilliant at this. Now, it's not poetic, no, but it does help you to build speaking and stage presence confidence. A word on audiences. Now, I want to tell you a wee bit of a secret, okay? When you get up to read or perform in front of an audience, you are the conductor of that room. All eyes are on you. The pressure! Which is understandably a wee bit scary, depending on how you train your brain to think about it. The power! The audience will look to you for cues on how relaxed to feel or not to feel. If you're in a fidgety and flustered state and you just can't stop thinking, God, I cannot wait to get out of here, please. Someone just come and hit me over the head with a frying pan as soon as possible, please. Then your audience will probably feel that. Now, luckily for us, there are tips and techniques in performance to either take the edge off these feelings or disguise them completely, which we'll look at in a later video. But it's really, really important to remember that the audience are not sitting there waiting and hoping for you to fail. Now, in performance poetry, the types of audience that you get will vary widely because of the many various types of stages that we perform on. Now, the audience that you get in a pub or at a festival is going to be much different from the audience you get in a school or in a library. You'll find that, say, you could be performing in a bar, for example, where an audience will tend to be much more interactive with you and much more rowdy, and where you're much more likely to get heckled. And you could go to places where you have a silent audience, such as in a school or in an art gallery, simply because that is what the culture of that space is. Now, it can be very daunting because the fact is that you just can't really prepare for an audience. You just really have to wait until you get to the gig and see what you're dealing with. And really, the only way through it is to do it, to build up experience of reading and performing in front of as many audiences as you possibly can. And now it's time for this video's pick of the poets. This video's poet is Candy Royale, a powerhouse of a Lebanese Australian poet hailing from Sydney. I want you to be consciously listening. Pay attention to how the poet carries herself from the minute she takes to the stage until the minute the video ends.
This is poetry, a stream of connected consciousness. I stress that I try to create work that releases hurt in people, because experienced alone pain makes us feeble. This is a collective experience where we explore the human condition, both dark and in all its brilliance. We are more resilient than they lead us to believe. Self-determination means we can conceive a world where empathy and compassion are ingrained, actions, tolerance, a practiced passion. A place where we know it's okay to be weak, we're fallible. It's part of what makes us unique. Perfection's a fallacy. Most financial wants pure fantasy. Life's more rich for those not perpetuating agony. I know that heaviness that comes from being empty. Believe me, I've been broken plenty. There are parts of my mind I still deny. If I could tap into that, I'd be the greatest writer that's ever been. If I could unblock this, I'd be the greatest woman that's ever lived. So lend me your ears, it's redundant now, fear. Lend me your hearts, they're about to be broken open. These spoken tokens are far more than slogans, chosen in moments where hope was fading but never faded. This heart never learned to hate. Instead I choose to create, to stimulate debate, refuse to remain sedated. day. I'll make shade when it gets too hot by sharing poetry and song with you, the important lot. People have power, it's more true than not. We don't have to be locked behind divisive lines. If I was king of the world, all the world was mine. I'd say above all, there's only one law, and that one law is love. Thank you.
Yeah! We'll end this video with another task. Another task. Another task. Yes, that's it. I want you to get your phones with your voice recorders on them at the ready. Please don't make me listen to myself, please. Tough. You'll do it now, or you'll do it for your breakfast. You choose. Now, your task is this. Pick a poem from a book, not one of your own poems, not this time. I want you to read through the poem, very simple, and record yourself reading that poem. Note how you feel. Do you feel a wee bit cringy? Well, push through, champion. The only way round is through, as they say. Now, you likely heard the poem with your inner ear when you read it through at first. Does the way you sound on the recording do what you heard initially in your inner ear justice? Do you speak it like you imagined it? Oftentimes there is a discrepancy between how we hear things in our heads and how they come out of our mouths. So I want you to record yourself reciting this poem over a few times until you feel you're as close to getting it how you think it should be read or how you heard it in your head. Pay attention to things like the pacing of the poem. Are there bits you feel that you should slow down a bit? Bits you feel need speeded up, given a little bit more oomph? What parts of the poem do you feel need most emphasis, and how do you do that? Now, for those of you who are more experienced, I'm going to basically set you the same task but put a little bit more of a spin on it. So I want you all to go ahead and pick a poem as well by another poet, but I want you to pick one purposefully by a poet and in a form and style that is way outside your comfort zone. So say, for example, you're used to performing and maybe a bit of a hip-hop style, maybe with a bit more aggression in your performance, a bit more rhythm. Then I want you to go for something like a sonnet. Something that automatically makes you go, oh no. And I want you to do the same. Record yourself reading that. What you're aiming to do here is remind yourself that you have a whole range. Oftentimes, especially when we are experienced, and I've been there, and actually most of us probably have been there and still do be there from time to time, is that we can get stuck in a particular style of writing or performing. Doing an exercise like this every once in a while where we remember what it was like to feel so uncomfortable is good. Keeps us on our toes. Better still, write a new poem that is everything opposite to what you are comfortable with. Be it tone, pace, subject matter, themes, and record yourself. I would love to hear it. It's really important that we get into the habit of combating that part of us that wants to go no, and realising that feeling daft, feeling silly, feeling uncomfortable is the way and the light. See you later.